It's a strategy, it's a framework that really helps us to classify what is green and what is not green. I'm sure you've all seen that in most of the activities or games that are regulated, there are clear rule books that help us to do or to know what to do. So the taxonomy here is here to help us and give us a common language to use and understand when we are classifying things that are green and not green. I'm not going to go into the rest. They've been talked about, but again, I want again to clarify what a taxonomy is not. A taxonomy, the green taxonomy is not here to classify if a project is good or bad, okay? That has to be clear. It might be good or bad, but let's not quickly say that it's here to classify something that is good or a bad investment. Next. A taxonomy is not a new thing. It's, they've been a couple of taxonomies. We are counting 50, but we know that there are other countries that are starting or finalizing their taxonomies. We've seen them in Asia, we've seen them in the Americas, we've seen them coming up in Africa. The Rwanda Green Taxonomy is the second in Africa, following the one in South Africa. And this, ours, is a new one that I can assure you that is well thought through. And we have no doubt that it's been done and contributed to by leading experts, both local and foreign. And we can assure you that we have a very well done standard taxonomy that can lead our activities, our economy to mobilizing the capital that we need for green and sustainability. We made a tour in Colombia where we interfaced face-to-face with the taxonomy, and when we came back, we knew exactly what to do. And what you see here is as a result of a well-consulted and well-benchmarked taxonomy. Next. What are the key elements of the taxonomy? The taxonomy comes with key elements that include clearly defining the objectives, identifying the key sectors that are critical to our economy, but also not just sectors, but we go deep and dive into activities that we need to look into and ensure that we are getting things right. In the objectives, we also notice that the taxonomy presents and gives a set of technical screening criteria that again help us to understand and identify or determine that your activity is really, really contributing to environmental sustainability or not, okay? And again, when we talk about these technical criteria, we ensure that there is a substantial contribution to protecting the environment. And we ensure that these technical criteria align very well with the objectives of protecting our environment, and that's where we will see areas that we contribute to that include mitigation, adaptation, biodiversity, pollution, water, marine, but also without forgetting the circular economy transition, where we encourage very much that as we manufacture, that as we do a lot, we do not, we ensure that we manufacture things that are reusable, we manufacture things that are sustainable, that have a long life, that are able to really sustain our environment. Also, when we look into other sectors, we ensure that in each and every sector or activity you're in, do not do significant harm, okay? And you will see this, we'll emphasize this in the construction sector, as well as other sectors, including agriculture and others, but also ensuring that you ensure that there are really, really substantial social safeguards. And this is where we encourage you that please, before you start on an expensive or a good activity, ensure that you do a very good environmental impact assessment. Next. We also wanted to again confirm the key steps that took us where we are today. We had, as I mentioned before, we did a substantial review of other taxonomies, including the European Union, Colombia, South Africa, and others, to ensure that at least we have a new and inclusive taxonomy. We also reviewed the key documents, key national documents, to ensure that we align very well with them. And this includes the National Defined Contribution, the Rwanda Green Growth and Climate Resilience Strategy, Environment and Climate Change Policy, Vision 2050, as well as the IREME Invest eligibility criteria that has already started. Other things that we looked at were really doing deep analysis into Rwanda's economic and emission data that people from the climate space really understand very well. Next. Next. You may ask yourselves, which are the key sectors? Again, we identified sectors that are key and are really, really active in the development of our country. And if not checked properly, they could do a lot of damage to the environment. As you know, more than 80% of our people are involved in agriculture, livestock, and forestry. We have a lot of construction going on, and we need to do a lot of mitigation and also consider adaptation here. We also look at the energy sector, we looked at the transport sector, manufacturing, water, and how we dispose of our waste, as well as the ICT sector. On the left, those are the key sectors that we looked at in phase 1, and then on the right, those are the sectors that we looked at in phase 2. Next. Now, we just wanted to pick up at least a few sectors so that we do a deep dive into them. And again here, we really wanted to emphasize why we need to consider best practices as we approach or we go into these sectors. And I think I'll just pick up one example. For example, in agriculture, we'll say that as you apply, let me say, your fertilizers, you ensure that you apply them in a way that is done very well. Let me say, what is done very well? Done very well, we mean, we do not want you to apply them in a way that, in case there's a lot of rains, all these fertilizers are going to be washed, and then we find them in our water streams that our citizens or our people are going to really consume, or even to a bad extent are going to kill the biodiversity that is in those waters. But also encourage things like crop rotation and ensure that the land and everything that we do on is very well protected, not for our generation, but for the next generation. Next. Construction. We picked a very good picture. We could have picked the I&M building, but nevertheless, it's closed. We want to ask that as you do your construction, ensure that the materials you use, as well as other activities that you're going to consider, really sustain the environment. And here we are going to encourage recycling the water and waste. We are going to encourage using more solar panels and solar electricity that is really abundant with us, but as well as doing the right environmental impact assessment to ensure that the construction you're going to do is really sustaining the environment where that activity is in, and you're not really emitting a lot of carbon in the air. Next. Energy sector, again, you all know that our electricity and energy works are ongoing. We don't have enough yet and cheap electricity. But as these activities go on, we again ensure that and we request that these are done in a way that is sustainable, but also consider other areas that could even be sustainable, including biomass, biogas, biofuels production that are low carbon. Next. Transport, I'm not going to emphasize this. I'm sure you've seen that we've already started, let me say, decarbonizing our transport sector. You've seen electric buses, you've seen electric motorcycles, but as well as other moving vehicles that use sustainable power, again, in the interest of protecting our environment. Next. Somebody in this room might ask themselves, who hosts the taxonomy? Where is this baby hosted, and who can we ask much about it? Again, we are the chair. The Minister of Finance is the chair and host of the taxonomy, but also has been chairing this work ever since it started a year ago. We are in the process of setting up a department in charge of climate finance to ensure that this work is very well coordinated and we support the sectors very well. We are supported by the Minister of Environment as the co-chair, but also work closely with other stakeholders in government, including regulators, as well as other public entities, as well as the private sector. As I said, we are the Secretariat, and we've been coordinating the work that has been going on, organizing technical discussions, and all the preparations that have been going on. The Secretariat has been, the Ministry of Finance, supported by Rwanda Finance Limited, that has been supporting the experts, but also coordinating the stakeholders that have been looking at this work. The third tier is also to mention that we engaged a lot of experts from all sectors, public, private, financial sector, insurance companies, academia, that really gave us inputs during technical discussions, but also ensuring that the documents we have are very well read, thought through, reviewed, and leading to the final documents that are done very well. Next. We also wanted to kind of talk about the implementation of the taxonomy. We have a detailed implementation roadmap. I don't know if by show of hand, I want to be sure that you have seen this implementation roadmap. By show of hands, can I know who saw it? Can I know who has not seen it? I think what I'm going to do is to ask our teams that are here to share that with you. I'm sure it's already no doubt it's already on our website, on the Minecofin website. We are going to show that to you shortly. But we came, in the implementation roadmap, we came up with key policy actions that look or cuts across sectors. And these, some are going to be implemented in the short run, others medium term, but there are other activities that we are going to do in the long term. And some have already started. For example, when you look at the level of regulators, we have already started developing disclosure regulations and guidelines that align to green financial products. This is already started in the central bank, and there are guidelines that are being developed as well. But also, I mean, there are already existing guidelines for those that are issuing green bonds. We also want to mention that we have encouraged and come up with criterias for insurance products, and these are still in the early period, but we are going to continue developing them and making them even better. So other things that we're encouraging is, again, to align the green taxonomy with the investment eligibility criteria and taxonomy. We are also encouraging development of, guidelines for labeling ECG green sustainable funds based on the taxonomy. We have a clear monitoring and tracking taxonomy aligned to the financial flows. It's in there. And other things that we can mention is on the national environmental and climate strategies, where we talk about alignment of the national strategies and the taxonomy. Everything that we do should be aligned very well. We are also talking about expanding sectorial strategies based on the taxonomy, but also we have a lot of support that is coming up, as mentioned by our earlier speakers. We have institutions and agencies that are ready to support the capacity building and testing. The implementation roadmap, I don't need to go through it. It has a lot of details. I'm going to encourage you to go into the roadmap and understand what each one of us is required to do. Next. Yeah, with that, I thank you. Shortly, we will receive my colleague, Alex, to again dive deep into the taxonomy. He's a seasoned expert, but let me not take Mr. Nangwe's job. Let me allow him to introduce Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, Herbert, for being so kind and keeping me on the job. So without much further ado, I'd like to bring in the next presenter, who's going to talk deeply into the taxonomy user campus. That's the navigator. And we'll also have a demo presentation. Please note, you can take down as much questions because there'll be a Q&A session after this. So please note down every question you'd like to get clarity on so that we can get to that session and we leave this room fully informed. And that's none other than Mr. Alex Murisa, Senior Technical Consultant at the Minecofin. Let's appreciate Alex as he comes to present.
Thank you, Bugana Anangwe. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yes, that's much better. Just two disclaimers. One, I don't know about the seasoned expert. number 2, I'm just a guinea pig with the navigator, and so might you be. Don't feel ashamed when you have to weed through and it doesn't work just right. And here we go. So he talked about diving deep beyond the presentation. I believe the presentation provided the key aspects, the salient aspects of the taxonomy in terms of what it is, what it will do for each and every one of you, and everybody who is outside here. This is really a quantum leap for Rwanda. Now, this is perhaps where the seasoned thing comes in. I've been around for too long. That's why they say seasoned. There has been successive developments, but nothing as critically relevant that includes the private sector, our main focus group in terms of coming on board to implement, to access financing, to implement green and climate responsive considerations in our development. So that's where we are, and therefore it is important that we really understand how to use this tool to our best advantage. The other point I have to make is you saw a range of countries, 50 in total around the world, a bunch of them in Africa, and only 2 in Africa that have completed this. So that spells an opportunity for us on 2 levels. One, on its excellent application, so that we can even share lessons with others, which they are going to be coming to us for lessons. So this is on the Minecofin website, talking about deep dive. You can see already the blue activated area, Rwanda Green Taxonomy, and that holds a repository of all the documents that have been produced thus far. And as such, it's really important that we become familiar with it. When you click on it, right now you see the navigator itself. And that is naturally the first point you go to, so that you can familiarize yourself with how do I wade through this process. When you click on the navigator, there is home, which of course takes you home. There is the Rwanda Green Taxonomy Campus, and I as a navigator must use a compass. So let's not get confused about those 2 terminologies. And the reason I'm saying this is I don't shy away from being vulnerable. Herbert himself told me, I said, why are you using 2 different terminologies? And he says, well, a compass is used by a navigator. So same thing, it's just about how do you use it. Thank you, Herbert, again. And then there is the frequently asked questions. Again, another opportunity for you to kind of go through, see what you want to know without necessarily, going through, because there are so many documents that you must go through, as you saw the number of sectors that are part of this. So here we go. When I click here, we have 3 areas. So it's easy to use. We have 3 areas that are critical for taxonomy, and they talked about substantive contribution. So it's about mitigation, it's about adaptation, and then there's various other objectives that you can go through. Now, in other words, when you click on mitigation, as I'm doing right now, you can see that there are a number of sectors that you begin with. There is construction, which was the example that was provided here, but you want to know more about construction, then you just click on the plus, and then it will give you a number of descriptive information One is about the ICIC code, but that is a standardization. Again, I believe a number of people, but most certainly Herbert talked about interoperability. These are international standards that taxonomy adheres to, which is very important, again, in light of all the countries that are coming on board. Right now, investors are going to be looking at, does Rwanda's taxonomy fit the criteria for financing as sustainable? So to be able to do that, you've got to, when you are implementing, when you are seeking finance, I believe this is going to be important first step to be able to understand what are they looking for. When they talk of sustainability, what do they mean? When they talk of mitigation adaptation, what is really involved in that? And when you go here, it gives you a snapshot of the activity. So we talked of objectives, sectors, and economic activities. So you need, in order for you to be able to understand to a decent degree what taxonomy potentially offers, you've got to go to the activity level. That's where you come up with, if it is e-mobility, what are the conditions that must be fulfilled in order to meet that standard? There are different standards. Good many of them are too technical. We shall not get into this because what we are doing here is to familiarize ourselves. And then it gives you a description of what construction in new buildings should actually be, should adhere to if it must fit the criteria of Rwanda Green Taxonomy. And you realize I emphasize Rwanda Green Taxonomy because this is unique, even as it is interoperable with other taxonomies around the world, most specifically European, which was the first generation and perhaps the most extensive, understandably so, with many countries meeting around that taxonomy. Then the other one is, of course, Colombia, which was more akin to what we wanted to do. For instance, we will talk of adaptation. Anyway, so this is, I won't spend more time in this because we want to give an opportunity for you to ask questions. By the time you get out of here, that's when the word seasoned actually applies. It will be to you, not to Alex. So this is about construction. Of course, it goes on through different areas. The building renovation, what do we do? When we are doing individual measures and professional services, what do you do to corporate buildings, to individual buildings, housing? This goes through a whole lot of what has been identified under construction so far, and the technical descriptions that ascribe to what fits the mold of taxonomy in Rwanda. Then you go to energy, same thing, transportation, you get the idea, right? From here, we have another category of adaptation. And with this, there's a number of sectors that you will see here and that you will see in other categories as I go along, I will be describing. In terms of agriculture, the economic activities, we are talking of identifying them, what happens in different economic activities by the impacts of climate change, because adaptation is about impacts. So they are characterized by sectors, by hazards. You can see flood, for instance, the flood damage of crop fields. You can see water stress in terms of drought-prone areas like the eastern part of the country. So that is the categorization. It takes a bit different approach from mitigation. Mitigation is about what what is the carbon footprint, if you will, for simplicity of a given economic activity. Here, it's what impact, when you are doing, for instance, irrigation, what might affect irrigation infrastructure? Is it prone to flooding? When you are dealing with the water reservoirs, is it prone to droughts, whereby then you've got to put measures in place as a project so that you can access financing using taxonomy as an entry point. This is about agriculture. Again, the impacts themselves are in agriculture, they are in energy, they are in transport. We all know when heavy rains come and floods, they destroy roads. So that is also an impact within the adaptation space of transport, even as we think of transport also having mitigation aspects in terms of bus rapid transport to be able to reduce emissions per person, at least per capita, as they always say. So that is about adaptation. Then we have various other objectives. This is specific to agriculture, to forestry, and to land use and livestock because it cuts across. One of the things that we have seen about agriculture is the fact that for instance, in our nationally determined contributions, it has a significant contribution to emissions. But at the same time, it's one of the most vulnerable sectors to impacts of climate change, which falls in the adaptation space. So that cross-cutting, as well as the fact that when you are doing agriculture, you need energy, you need transport. So these various objectives were simply characterized as other objectives that cut across the different sectors. So this is the navigation or the compass and how you can go through it. And I will say one thing, not until you do it will you actually be able to understand it. So I encourage each and every one of you to interface with this in order for you to understand how useful it is, but importantly, how we can even make it more useful. As you interact with it, you will give ideas in terms of how easy it will be to access this information in order for you to be able to do what you want to do with the taxonomy. Again, in the interest of the interactive session that Mr. Anangwe alluded to, I think I can stop here unless you feel, Alex, there is something you have not done to give us an entry. This is just a lens into how this is going to be used. And again, there is the frequently asked questions that you can access from here. There are different other documents where you can engage technically with, if you want to know the thresholds within the energy. Where do I get them from? You go to energy, you go to the specific document of that sector, and then you can see threshold with respect to energy generation, energy efficiency. All that information is there. And I would, again, encourage you, even as you encourage others, to become familiar with this tool because it's going to be instrumental in our work day-to-day going forward. Mr. Anangwe, is there anything else you feel I should tell the audience? Or it's time for you to come and take your mic?
With your permission, I just want to open up the question session. If you have any burning question or any reflection you want to make that you'd like Mr. Alex to touch on, please, this is your chance. Just raise your hand up. We'll bring the microphone to you. And then you can be able to raise the question or reflection or even comments.
And it doesn't have to be Alex to answer.
Yes.
There are experts
in
here
the room,
that
yes.
have been doing that, so
Yeah.
I can see them.
Anyone? Ah, good. I can see a hand here. Yeah.
Thank you very much for very informative presentation. My name is Faith Gasatra. I work for JICA, and I'm very much interested to learn more about green taxonomy, since it's cross-cutting to all our project implementation in different sectors. But as someone who is not familiar with green taxonomy and how it's going to be implemented, I just wanted to clarify from you, Mr. Alex, on how you mentioned about especially agriculture, and you talked about irrigation, and I wanted to ask to clarify how is green taxonomy going to support or yield our irrigation system, and to what extent is it going to improve our irrigation systems in different areas? I'm saying this because JICA is supporting irrigation system in different eastern provinces, areas to support these cooperatives, and I wanted to know how can these, okay, for example, I'll use the example of JICA. How can JICA use the green taxonomy to improve our irrigation system to specific areas of our interventions? Thank you.
Thank you. And as Alex said, he's not the only one who can take the questions. There's a team in the room, so feel free, all the experts in the room, to chip in and chime in. So Herbert is also in the room. He could also help to chip in. Can we take another one as we build up on that?
Thanks, Alex, for walking us through that very interactive digital navigator or compass for the Rwanda Green Taxonomy. My name is Ankun Liu, SCG Finance Specialist from UNDP Africa Sustainable Finance Hub. My question, or maybe a minor suggestion is for consideration, is that I was wondering if there's any plan, for example, to embed some feature for data access when it comes to API access, or even offer the downloading option for in the format of Excel, things like that. That would be a very interesting feature to be embedded on the website, maybe in the future. Thanks.
Wonderful insight there. Thank you. One more, then we can have responses for those three, and then we take another round. Yeah, there's a hand here.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Chuti Wasawoze Kevin, and I work in Agruni. It is a waste collecting and processing company. So I had a question, but also a suggestion. So they have shown us a very good navigator, but from my perspectives as a computer scientist, is that you should engage mostly when, like, giving that taxonomy to be used, you should engage on human-computer interaction. You see, in order that people can interact with data, you need to simplify the access to those data. So the data are arranged professionally, but more than I can highlight what the precurrent speaker have said, is you can put other options, option of downloading, option of summarizing. You can integrate AI technology for summarizing what the documents are saying, so that it can be more understandable and more human-computer interaction. Thank you.
Yeah, remind me your name again?
It's Kevin.
Kevin. Is it too late to hire Kevin? Thank you, Kevin. Very great insights. Very great insights. We'll come to Magnus, and then we get some response from those very important questions.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Magnus Mazimaka. I'm a journalist. I work for Tarifa. My question goes to Herbert. He made a marvelous presentation, easy to understand. I wanted to pick from where he ended. Herbert, when you look at the benchmarking you talked about and the experiences from those two countries, Colombia, South Africa, and a few ideas from European Union, what uniqueness does Rwanda have that probably we might see in the coming years that we have another country benchmarking from Rwanda so that other countries can also copy 2 or 3 things that serve within their context? And the second last question I want to ask is the technicians. Clearly you can see that bigger investors or big economies benefit much better than smaller investors or smaller businesses like farmers. I wanted to understand technically how a Muturaje or a farmer in Nyagatare or Nyamasheke taps into this kind of policy for someone to move from one step to another for their own prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The floor is open for response now. Any of their teams can be able to pick any of the questions and feedback.
I will start and then the rest will complement me. I'm sure there will be significant room for complementing. The irrigation, I think that's from JICA. To what extent is it going to improve the systems? That is a green taxonomy. So one, I think in terms of usability of taxonomy, the question is what opportunities does it bring to Rwanda? Does it bring to a farmer? That is where I see the critical use of taxonomy. So what challenges are we facing in irrigation, for instance, as well as in other development areas anyway, which triggered the need for taxonomy? One is because we are transitioning from business as usual to enhancing sustainable development where climate is a critical factor as well as other environmental issues, all of which are actually covered in the taxonomy. So the appetite for taxonomy in Rwanda, being given one of the initial countries to adopt this, is based on our policies of transitioning to sustainable development. That's pure and simple. So when you come to operate here, be it JICA, be it a farmer in Nyamagabe, as they have talked about, we've got to be cognizant of how do we make the transition? How do we become innovative to deal with our challenges to sustainable development? For irrigation, for example, that you talked about, we spend a whole lot of money buying equipment, and then its functionality is short-lived in some instances. The next thing is, what impact does it have on our economy, on the global economy, if you will? So there we begin entering the spaces of specific areas of taxonomy mitigation. For instance, mitigation, can we tap into the solar irradiation that we have, which is in plenty, rather than spend money to buy fossil fuel that will come from around the world with the heavy, can we use solar irrigation, which we have in plenty? You will talk about the challenges of technology, but I submit that as we continue engaging with the taxonomy, The initial costs are going to come down. It has already been demonstrated. But most importantly, when we are talking of sustainability, we will always have the sun. We won't always have the oil. If you have lived long enough, you know 1970s, what happened with the fossil fuel in the transportation. On the adaptation front, we are talking of how do we come up with the practices of dealing with adaptation, because it's about adaptive capacity, it's about building. If you have a water reservoir and it is filling up with the sediment, you don't, one, have enough water to be doing irrigation. Number two, you are actually investing in getting that sediment out, also knowing that it is a loss anyway to the agricultural productivity. So these are some of the ideas where I believe JICA would be able to look at what technologies do we have to deal with some of these intractable problems that get in the way of sustainable development. In terms of even equipment, you are talking of how do we deal with the transition to those renewable energy generation, energy-powered systems. In retrofitting, how do I change this? In terms of the changes that must take place for parts and or whole of the infrastructure itself. This requires initial investment, but if you do it right and invest right, that I think is where we gain as a country. But importantly also to mention that if you were looking for initial investment, I think there is an opportunity to access financing through, because many investors increasing around the world are coming up with the sustainable financing measures or targeting as opposed to the traditional ways. I think there is the technology aspect, embedding other features to download Excel, for instance. We have to be mindful here. This is a launch. We are launching. So those ideas very much welcome. Anangwe has just given you a job. Just follow it up, but a lot of improvements are going to be needed going forward to make it even more usable than perhaps we are doing right now. There's always room for improvement, innovation, and that is very much welcome, including to the systems that we have right now. Kevin, I think you talked about the processing company, human-computer interaction. I think you are more giving ideas, but in terms of options, I think it goes to the same, options are needed to make it much more user-friendly, particularly considering the next question, which is about, you talked of Muturage in Nyamagabe. One, you must also realize where Rwanda is coming from and where it's going. Right now, we are talking of digitalization in user cause. I think we perhaps undermine the level of Muturage's ability to access some of these innovations that are going on around us. Just an example of that is user core. We are talking of how do they actually access resources through that are enabled by the green taxonomy practices. Right now, if you are talking of the Ireme Invest, which is in BRD, they interact with those abaturages, and they are at the same time applying this tool of Ireme Invest, rather of green taxonomy. So here we are talking of how the user cause are actually being enabled to access these resources. And they are already in the middle of digitalization, and before we know it, they will perhaps be much more digital savvy than myself, who has been presenting it over here. So one, let's be positive, but not just by being optimistic, but by ensuring that we have structures in place that enable even those considered at the bottom of the pyramid to participate in some of the development aspects Rwanda is going through. That's my 2 cents. I don't know whether someone else has some 4 cents to add.
Yes, I see Herbert wants to add some 4 cents.
Yeah, thank you, Anangwe. I think I'll just stand up and address Magnus, if you could give me a... Thank you, Magnus, for the brilliant questions. I think I'll start with the last one. What does this mean to small businesses? What does the taxonomy mean to, you know, a farmer in and around Rwanda? What this means is that, as you know, we have mobilized a lot of sustainable green finance. Rwanda Green Fund is here. They have a lot of grants. They have a lot of funds. There are funds in BRD. BRD is already represented here. They will confirm that. But we are seeing those funds going through financial institutions, let's say SACCOs, let's say financial institutions. And these green funds are there to be served to the farmers and other people in other activities. What these green funds come with is, let me say, cheap capital or cheap interest rates compared to other ordinary funds. Now, what that means is that if we build capacity of farmers and other small businesses very well to understand the alignment we talk about here in the taxonomy, these businesses, these farmers should be able to design products and be able to go to that circle and ask for that particular green loan, because the funds are there. We've mobilized them, a lot of them, in the SLB. I talked about what we have at the Green Fund. I think these are funds that are already being channeled through financial institutions, and we need to have our people ready to go pick up these green or sustainable linked funds at much, much cheaper subsidized rates because of their nature. So that's what we are bringing. And I'll give an example. If you're a livestock farmer and you want to come up, or you want to hire somebody, or you want to build a biogas system, okay, and you need money from your circle, you should go to that circle and ask for that particular green loan because it's aligned, okay? And you get it cheaply. So that's what it means to that ordinary, you know, farmer. That's what I wanted to emphasize. But my colleagues in BRD and CEO Teddy can talk about that as well, because they've already started on that front. You also asked on the uniqueness of the taxonomy. Yes, we benchmarked EU. We benchmarked Colombia that has, we did Colombia because it's just like Rwanda. It has a terrain like Rwanda, same green ambitions, okay, of being a sustainable, a green financial hub. But what is in this taxonomy is that it's interoperable, meaning that the same criterias, the same numbers that you're seeing in here that we are using, it's the same when you look at the taxonomy in Colombia or the one in the EU, it's the same. Same standards, and that's the uniqueness of our taxonomy, that anyone will tell you that Rwanda's taxonomy is very done and done well. It's very clear. Another part that I wanted to touch is on the dynamism. Yes, we just showed you sectors here and activities. We are not, drawing a line and cutting it there and saying that we cannot add other sectors. We are going to continue working on it and include other sectors that we might even have forgotten that are contributing to decarbonizing the environment. So that's the uniqueness that we're also coming up, that we are flexible to include anything that we forgot. Also, lastly, to mention that at least we tried to go into sectors that are contributing you know, to the dynamism and the development of our country and need to be really looked at and ensure that the sustainability is included. Otherwise, if we continued the development pace that we are on without taking care of the environment, then we might miss something, or we might not speak to the frameworks, the strategies that the country has put in place. We might be walking a different journey that is different from, you know, the blueprint that we have, meaning that we have very good strategies, frameworks that are in the shelves, but we are not walking the talk. That's the uniqueness of this taxonomy and the government of Rwanda, that we are going to implement what we agree, and what we agree that is good, not just for the economy, but for our environment. And again, that's the uniqueness of our leadership, that they look at everything in one compass. But I'm going to ask Teddy to compliment me. Thank you.
Thank you, Herbert. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to add on to what Herbert was saying, but more in a very practical way, and based on the experience we faced at the fund. So for us, we see the green taxonomy as a tool which really helps us in two ways. One, when it comes to resource mobilization, as a green fund, we have the mandate to mobilize and catalyze the climate finance in Rwanda. But there's also another element of disbursements. How quickly are we dispersing the funds? And this is not just the green fund, but I'm sure the Rwanda BRD, the bank, my God, I'm mixing all the BRD, BRD or any, you know, I think we need to always think of how fast can we mobilize resources and how fast can we deploy them. So the first thing that the green taxonomy has done is really to come up with this classification that defines which economic activities are environmental sustainable, right? And I think that's very, very important in our context. Because when we're mobilizing funding, we work with our partners are here, Germany, KfW, and so it's through bilateral partnerships, but there's also the multilaterals, and we're also trying to now position Rwanda to attract real private capital. So it's also very important that when we're mobilizing and we're engaging the partners, that the context, our context also has to be embedded in. And I think those are the questions that were being asked. How do we make sure that the farmer who's in irrigation in a district somewhere? So we need to maintain our context, but also align to international standards. So that's one thing. So it really helps us with resource mobilization. And attracting, eventually we're going to see more investors coming on board, because we're building the investor confidence, because there's that alignment also at the international, at the international level. So that's from a resource mobilization perspective. Now I want to talk about, disbursement and our experience at the fund. We have faced, challenges whereby, one instance people say there is no money, but when the money comes, we're not dispersing it quick enough, right? And I think we have a good example with the Reme Invest. It's a partnership with the Development Bank of Rwanda. It's basically using a blended finance approach where we're de-risking as the Green Fund, but also the bank providing debt and guarantees. But even with all these instruments in place, and even with the fact that we're providing concessional financing, there are challenges in actually, getting a pipeline, a good pipeline that is green. So we see the problem not just from a resource mobilization, but even when the money comes, how fast can we deploy it? If it takes, we did an amazing job, I have to say. We mobilized, I think now the facility is at 260 million, but it's taking time to deploy the funding. So if we don't have that pipeline, then we're not going to continue, because we cannot continue to mobilize financing when we are stuck with some financing. And it's not just, we have seen that there's a lot of financing that is already in the country, but we have a challenge on dispersing it. So what the taxonomy does, what it will help us with, is now we have a clear definition of what, of the economic activities that align with, with the environment. So when project developers, whether it's public sector or private sector, when they are developing projects and during the project design, this is an amazing, and I love that we have a tool that is actually online. It can be, it can guide them on what we mean by green in agriculture and what we mean by green in transport. I mean, it goes into it's quite deep because it also goes into the type of technologies. So if we're talking about energy, for example, in our context, what do we consider that to be? We have solar, we have different types of technology, EVs, the hybrid. So it's very, very, very detailed in that it's going to help the project developers now develop projects that are that are green. So for me, that's why I find this so important. We hope that once it's implemented and it's disseminated, and it's amazing that we have the tool again, the navigator, right? That's what it's called. So this is something that can be accessed anywhere. And so we hope that when project developers are approaching, whether it's the banks or us as a green fund, they'll have taken the time. But it also reduces people who are working in all the time. Now we can say, go online, check out this taxonomy, the navigator, before you actually come to us, make sure that you are aligned. So that's I think for me the practical. I just wanted to say that from a practical standpoint. Something else that the taxonomy is going to do, as much as we want to attract funds from out there, but I also believe there's an opportunity. We have the commercial banks here. We have our institutional investors. How do we also unlock domestic, capital, and start seeing more of, the deployment towards green? And from what we've understood always from at least the financial sector is, it's risky, the risk aspect. The risk better. Then we hope that you will also, with time, you can also design or come up with products that will also allow us to see more financing flowing in the green space. So I just wanted to really emphasize that and thank, we also love that the Ministry of Finance, Rwanda Finance Limited, is taking a strong, a lead in this, because when it comes to green investments, to be quite frank, it's not just the business of the Ministry of Environment or the Green Fund, it's rather, this is a government, the government of Rwanda has taken a bold decision to develop in a climate compatible manner. So it's very, very important that we have the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Environment, several sectors. I mean, you saw all the pretty much national priorities are in there. But we can only achieve this if we also have the financial sector on board. So this is my, really calling out. I'm seeing all the banks. I think BRD is taking a lead in this. So we really hope that we can also have more of the commercial banks also eventually setting targets, I don't know, in your portfolio. We would love to see that in the coming years where we also have clear targets from the commercial banks that you'll be deploying some of your resources to green and sustainability projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This side will not allow me to leave this place in peace because a lot of the questions came from that side. So I love peace. So I'm going to come this end. So please, let's bring the mics on this side. I've seen a hand. Just keep it up so that they can see you. You have a mic already. So let's start with him because he already has a mic, and then we'll come to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Emmanuel Nzanana. I work for Radiant Insurance Company. It is a good step to have this green taxonomy launched today. I want to have more light or insight from Herbert or anyone else if they have experience on the role of insurance companies in implementing this green taxonomy, maybe in Colombia or anywhere else where they have benchmarked. Thank you so much.
That's a good one. Straight. One more.
Thank you. I'm Olivier Mugwaneza, and I'm working with the National Bank of Rwanda. Mine is not a question, but just a contribution to the previous discussion. and to assure that from the financial sector, we've started engaging, not only on the green taxonomy, but also on the risk management that the CEO Green Fund just talked about. Just to inform whoever maybe hasn't seen it, that the National Bank of Rwanda has already guided the financial sector on how to incorporate climate risk in their risk management processes and frameworks. And I'm happy also to say that especially for the commercial banks, they have already submitted it to us, their self-assessment. We still see the capacity challenge and data challenge, but there is already a progress. And some have already set targets on how they want to move in their loan portfolio, which one should be into green, and they have targets that they want to achieve in the coming years. And the taxonomy will be a catalyzer, because now it gives them a way to assess and know, if I really want to have a green portfolio, then how do I assess it? So the taxonomy provides the criteria which they can go with and be able to read it. So it is really going to be a catalyzer to us as a central bank to monitor, but also for the commercial bank who want to tap into that to also have that kind of reference. So it's key. Maybe if you go down to the farmer, like you said, there is also a need of understanding, and I think one of the activity or actions that are in the roadmap is to see how can we have this taxonomy in Kinyarwanda, for example. And if we have it, then even the farmer can understand. I'm working with a bank, but then what is it that I need to do to make sure I access the funds or the loans that are in the bank? So I think maybe as you read the roadmap, you will see that that initiative is also there, and having it will also help the farmer who, let's say, don't speak English to be able to understand what the taxonomy requires, and they can design the product in the way that they can access the fund. We also have part of what we needed to do in the process is also to see how do we de-risk, for example, in the agriculture sector, and how do we encourage institutions like insurance companies to also develop products like parametric insurance. So as a central bank, we are developing, for example, a national insurance strategy where we also talk of how do we incorporate climate risk in that strategy, but also at the same time working with the Ministry of Finance. How do we look at the product that are enablers, like parametric insurance? So central bank, for example, we are taking a responsibility going forward to see how we can develop parametric insurance guidelines to the insurance companies so that they can be able to also give product to the people who want to insure such kind of risk. So there is a lot that is being done from the financial sector, and we are aware and we are taking action to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe while you still have the mic, you said you didn't have a question. I have one. Especially on the role of regulation. You have the power to bring out the stick and the power to give the carrot. I want to ask, what incentives do you think are available for financial institutions as you do the regulation to fast-track the implementation by financial institutions of this green taxonomy?
From the green taxonomy perspective, we're still thinking about it, but I will give one that we have implemented in the past as an incentive. For example, when I remember in the recent past, the Development Bank of Rwanda issued a sustainability-linked bond. So the question was, for example, is this sustainability-linked bond going to get an incentive? And for us as a central bank, we looked at the framework we had. One of the framework we had was the collateral framework. And the collateral framework was not recognizing any of such instrument as something that you can use as a collateral. So we said, maybe we can have an incentive of changing our collateral framework and have this being a collateral as any other instrument. That was an incentive. But we are also thinking around some incentive, like if you have green loans in your portfolio, is there any way, for example, as a bank, you can have some risk weight? That is still a discussion, even globally, but how could we reduce the capital requirement versus the risk for a bank to be able to engage in that? So there are others that have been suggested already in the taxonomy, which we are still exploring. We will still continue to explore as we implement the taxonomy. Thank you.
Thank you. I won't talk about the kanyaf for now. All right, one more question and then we come back to the answers. I need some ladies in the room, please. All right, yeah, there's one here. Nothing against my brothers. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. My name is Lucy Uize, and I work for RISA, Rwanda Information Society Authority. So I'm the one behind the development team of the Navigator. So I'm happy to receive those such feedback, so they help us. So, and I want to ensure that this is a first release, and it will be a second, maybe a third. So we're going to implement those feedback and suggestions by taking into consideration of the, someone suggests the AI implementation and also the translation language, not only English, we can also include French and Kinyarwanda. So yeah, be sure that those things will be taken into consideration. And another thing I want to add, there is someone who asked about Umuturage at Nyamagabe, so how you can access or use these tools. So we have, at RISA, we have a project called Digital Ambassadors, where we put young generation peoples to support citizens do literacy trainings digitally. So that's not a problem for us right now, because we have like testimonials that the program work well, where when you know that also we have Rwandan, we have everything digitally. Like when I want to go to Ilembo, who can help me to navigate the e-services there. So those digital ambassadors are there to support citizens. So this also will be taking into consideration. The navigator also will be trained by the digital ambassadors. Thank you.
Wonderful. More power to you. Well done. Well done. I'm seeing many hands. All right. Over here, I'll be very biased, I'm sorry. This side. And then we'll go for one or two. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep your hands so that we can remember to give you. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Adelphine Mudashamagira, the ESG specialist at I&M Bank. My intervention is related to the current practices of some of the commercial banks. As it has been already mentioned, financial institutions, yes, we are doing something. We are struggling. For us, we support Rwanda in the line of sustainability, as some of the banks have the strategy in which the sustainability aspect or pillar has been defined. But when you look at the current practices, yes, the taxonomy is very important, because it will guide us when we are praising different customers. And I see financial institutions on the forefront, because we are the ones mainly financing all those different projects, which really cross-cut the green taxonomy. So my request is that as we are moving forward, let's support those key actors, number one, in capacity building for financial institutions really to understand and be able to appreciate what we mean by green investment, but also looking at the aspect of the green investment, most they are new businesses, even most of them they are startup. Let's now bring this aspect of de-risking, which reduce the appetite of financial institutions to invest into those green initiatives. Otherwise, we understand the role of green investment, but let's join our hand to see how all those challenges can be addressed, because financial institutions, private sector, they are the ones really on the forefront when it comes to the implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So 1 minute each for those who had raised their hands this side. Just 1 minute each so that we can wrap. Please give out the mics. Start with him, and then those two at the back, and him, and then we will close.
Yes, thanks so much. Not really a question, but 2 points of reflections or suggestions. I agree very much with our colleague Herbert, as well as Central Bank and the Green Funds sharing. The first point is on the importance of project pipeline. So we couldn't agree more that it's critical to have a solid pipeline of taxonomy-aligned projects in order to enable effective loan disbursement, for example. And at UNDP, we stand ready to support our key partners here to prepare or curate or strengthen such a pipeline. We hope that we can talk more about this collaboration opportunity. A second point, maybe a suggestion on this, because one of the colleagues here raised a very important question: how taxonomy can can offer benefits to those small businesses or even farmers. I think on the top level, policy design level, maybe there's a greater role central bank can play, especially offering some structural refinance incentives. For example, this is not something imaginary, but from a real experience from other countries. For example, let's say if a financial institution, either a BRD or Rwanda Green Funds, offer some loans to some taxonomy-aligned projects at relatively cheaper rates, and then the central bank, maybe at a year end, will review such loaning and can offer cheaper interest rates of refinancing to such financial institutions, so that such operations cannot only be operated by development financial institutions, but it can be expanded to commercial banks, which will enable greater coverage to those potential beneficiaries. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, over there. Just keep it very, very short, just 1 minute or under a minute. At the back, the two hands, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Cyprien Daisaba. I'm from BRD, in charge of sustainability. I have 2 questions or suggestions. The first one, when I tried to navigate the tool, I was about to ask why some sectors were not appearing, but later on I realized that they were classified into different categories, being climate mitigation, adaptation, and various objectives. I would suggest maybe to have an introductory part. I even saw there are some coding. Maybe we need that introductory part so that someone navigating the tool would be introduced to how it's organized. And that is my first suggestion. The second would be maybe for other versions. This is just a recommendation, if possible. Would it be possible to have a kind of an online assessment, screening, where a beneficiary would come and enter some data inputs, like those criteria in the taxonomy, to have a quick assessment and be able to know if a project in mind would be green or not, kind of online screening tool embedded in part of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Andre. came from the insurance called UBF. I just want to talk about 3 things. One, just
could you try 2 maximum?
Yes,
Okay.
3 things. One, just about awareness. You know, these things, it's like new item here, because you say that there are only 2 here in Africa. And I think also most of people do not know about this green taxonomy. So I was thinking about how are you doing just to raise awareness to the extent that people at grassroots level. I'm saying this because I'm even the leader at grassroots level, Mudugudu, so that people from Mudugudu can know this green taxonomy. And may I suggest that you can just work with Minaloc so that they can just help you to spread this message to the government entities, because for sustainability, I think that Muturagi should know it, so that can just quicken up this roadmap, the implementation. The second is just about capacity building. I think this needs also the capacity building. So where is the process so that maybe any cooperative organization or company that needs capacity building can just access trainings? So I just want to hear from you about the process of getting that capacity building. Third one, I think it's just about financing. After all, these things needs also financing. I have heard people from BRD, others, PSA, banks, other projects. So what is the clear process in case maybe someone does a project related to green taxonomy can access to these funds, but also to the banks? You know, when we talk about the banks, some people fear about collateral and so on and so on. What is the insurance or the way that can access? Because when we talk about banks, people just can fear saying that when it comes to the banks, they will ask me collateral and so on and so on. So just want to hear about these 3 things. Awareness, is there any way to work with government entities, capacity building, any clear process, but also financing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There was the last person over here. Was you? It was who? Ah, okay. Now, I reached him first.
Thank you so much. William Mugabo, I'm with the Ministry of Environment. I'll address my question to Abbott. If we see today's session is more on green taxonomy implementation roadmap, I'll practically ask 2 questions. How is Minecofin in terms of public investments? Here I mean, how is Minecofin practically taking it up in terms of implementation, especially in public resources allocation, and how is it now clearly mainstreamed in the different checklists that you're doing at the Ministry of Finance? Second, how is it this taxonomy is going to help Ministry of Finance again in terms of extending and mobilizing resources that are green? Is it something that is mainstreamed across different development finance or external finance? And is it something that is already now mainstreamed in the checklist for resource allocation in public investment? To Alex, maybe something that Anangwe mentioned, what are the incentives there to the financial sector to take up this taxonomy? There is a notion that this is very expensive. How do we give them confidence that this is something that is worth taking up and doing? And probably that would be also answered by BNR.
Thank you. Just one, eh? One.
Thank you for the important work being done under green taxonomy. My name is John. I work with the SLE, where we support any geospatial technology that protect the environment. And we are ready to support where we can. My question is that is regarding to the electrical transportation. How does the taxonomy plan to manage the disposal or recycling of all the batteries to prevent the environment? Thank you.
All right, thank you. We've had a very good round of questions. We allowed almost everybody who had a question to speak. And so now we're going to open up for the response session, and then we'll close this session today. Go ahead, Albert.
Thank you, Eugene. I think I'll start with the question from the insurers. Your question was, what do you expect from us? Or what do we expect from you? As you know, the strategies are in place, the framework is here, and we've seen the public and private sector have started mainstreaming sustainability in their strategies. We've seen banks have already started designing products that are sustainable, and what we expect from you is that as the insurance sector, you're going to go and look into your strategies or relook into your strategies and make sure that they are mainstreaming sustainability. But also designing products that are sustainable. For example, again, I'll speak into already existing things or activities that are green. When you're providing them with an insurance, is it going to be at the same premium cost as another building? What's the incentive there? If you're providing, let me say, an insurance property cover for I&M building, should it really be the same, at the same price as any other building that is not sustainable? So that's the sensitivity that we want you to start having in your strategies, and being able to put up such products that are green and also start claiming the taxonomy. So that's what we expect from you. Not just buildings, but even other activities. We have many activities that are green now. As you cover them, can you design products that really suit them? Can you benchmark what is being done elsewhere and be able also to come into this ecosystem with products that are suitable and that are incentivizing, okay? I can't emphasize more on the capacity building. Yes, the capacity building is really, really needed. And as mentioned, we are in the process of hiring a number of experts that are going to come across your sectors to build capacity on the taxonomy. The idea of Minaloc is good, but we also have the Ministry of Environment that is working with other ministries to ensure that this mainstreaming is done. On UNDP, thank you for your commitment to support this work, and we really appreciate you. But I also take it back to the central bank that you requested that they should consider some sort of incentives in refinancing. It's a suggestion in refinancing, funds that are out there, so that they're able to have them cheaper. Capacity building is going to really drive pipelines in financial institutions. Somebody from I&M mentioned that. Yes, we are going to really put a lot of energy into that. There's a question that came from this side on how Minecofin is taking it up in terms of mainstreaming sustainability in the strategies, in the budget. I'm sure somebody here has heard of the climate budget tagging that we started already in the ministry, and again, it's to ensure that we allocate really enough funds to projects or investments, public investments that are green, but also to confirm that there are already incentives that are happening, and I'll talk about the incentive on the fiscal incentive on the green mobility. We've really given up a substantial amount of tax for those that are coming, that are bringing into the country. Let me say cars that are green, that we subsidize the hybrids. For electric, I think it's 100%, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot that is happening there. What else have I not touched? Alex?
Okay, I think most of the questions have been addressed. I think there's a set of questions from BRD, which I think she has spoken to that, about some of the things to do with the navigator. In terms of online screening assessment or pre-screening for a project that is eligible, they can talk about that. But that is a very good idea to talk about the codes and, you know, like glossary of what these codes mean, and then the navigation, which should be able to answer. Minecofin, in terms of climate budget tagging, the taxonomy so far has actually aligned with the climate budget tagging. And one thing to bear in mind, taxonomy is a tool for standardization, for establishing a common language, particularly between investors and potential recipients of those investments. So if they can talk the same language, it makes it easier for transactions to flow. That's, in simple terms, how I look at it. But to be able to do this, to have this common language, there are certain standards that then describe what sustainability means, what climate adaptation means, what mitigation means, what are the thresholds. This is what is in our taxonomy. For instance, talking about even an earlier question on uniqueness, one of the unique aspects of our taxonomy is the focus or emphasis on adaptation. It was dealt with by Colombia, but not to the extent that we have done so. And the reason is obvious. We are mostly affected by climate. For those who are aware of what has been happening, I think you know how costly the flooding in the east-west and landslides, I must say, have cost. And we are applying some of these techniques to see how we can address even future climate impacts. So it's not, it goes beyond just accessing resources, but this common language and standardization allows us to do things in ways that deal with the future risks, which even insurance companies can actually use as a tool to see how they can structure their premiums. So that is, in terms of Minecofin, using it as a tool for resource mobilization, it's just like other policies that we have, the green growth and all that. It puts the government, the country, on a map that we are doing things right, and therefore we can be able to access, not doing it right for anybody else, but for us to deal with the global crisis, one of which is climate change. There is biodiversity, there is pollution, which I'm going to be talking about next. But to do it in a way that has the potential to attract partners who see these things as progressive approaches to dealing with the crisis that affects us all across the planet. So resource mobilization is inevitably a part of it, and it comes through having tools, having strategies, and as was earlier talked about, having the implementation that demonstrates that these are not just documents bracing the shelves, but that we can use them to address the issues and to make the planet better. You bear with me, I didn't get the name, but they were talking of pollution, things to do with the pollution management. We talk of how does taxonomy help this? There is pollution that is part of the taxonomy, the standards that we must adhere to, but in practice, it's about reuse, it's about recycling, it's about the best practices that we can use. And this is best even in our practices. This is all talked about in taxonomy. And again, this is why the navigator is important. You go to pollution and you see what can possibly be done. And not just that what is in here is complete, there is room for growth. So introduction of innovative mechanisms to be able to see how can we better address circular economy concepts that are already in here, but how do we push the borders of innovation to make it even better? I believe, I don't know from BRD if there has, most of the ideas you are bringing on the table in terms of the navigator, I think are much more technical than I can perhaps tackle, but I could welcome you to perhaps meet her and then discuss on some of the ideas that she can use. She's very open to see this be of service across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. We can appreciate Alex. He's done a good job. Any other interventions from team members? As Central Bank, could you pass the mic just real quick and then we... It's going there, don't worry. Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to react on two things. One, expectation from the insurance sector. Maybe one expectation is start to look at the products that can best suit the climate risk. Which product can best suit the climate risk? But also, if you look at international insurance markets, this is a new risk, and most have started to go to it with some guarantees. And there are some guarantee funds that are willing to partner with insurance company to de-risk. So maybe another expectation would be start to look for such opportunities. Are there guarantee funds that already exist, which I know they exist, that we can partner with, of course, under which terms that you can explore, so that you are really able to also offer those products with the commercial viability as well. So that's what I wanted to add on what Herbert has already shared. I think the refinancing is a suggestion that we might look at, but maybe, as you may know, that's not the main role of a central bank, but we have seen with the climate risk a lot of blended finance approaches in which central bank can also participate. But what I wanted to say is that there are already existing frameworks that can help, maybe with not refinancing, but for example, one framework that we have and we allow is a framework of loan restructuring. For example, if, for example, you're financing an agriculture sector and it is affected by the effect of climate change, maybe whoever you have financed might not be able to pay as per the area anticipated, let's say, installment, and you want to restructure. So there is a procedure, there is an enabling procedure where you can apply for it at the central bank and see how it can be restructured as a possibility to help you also learn that loan, but also help whoever has asked the loan. Another framework that we have is what we call emergency liquidity facility. We have not seen commercial banks using it because, as you might have followed our FSC or monetary policy stability statement, you might have seen that banks currently have a lot of liquidity vis-a-vis what you require as a central bank, and probably that's explain why they have not been using emergency liquidity facility. We are still, again, looking at it, how we can make it even more inclusive, but this is also something that can work to help as a framework. We think that, it's a suggestion that we can also see how it can work with this emerging risk. And
thank you very much. I've had something new today, the emergency liquidity. So the money is there, eh? Including some emergency money in case you don't have the liquidity. Money shame. This laptop, could we take it out so that we can do the final statements? We are having the closing remarks now. I want to remind the members of the press that after this, there's an interview or sort of a press conference or press briefing that is going to be taking place right outside. And it will be a great opportunity to catch up on any other questions you might have wanted to ask in the room. And so at this point, I'd like to say that we would love to request the next speaker who's coming to offer the closing remarks on behalf of GIZ, and that is none other than Ksenia Mava, the project leader, Climate-Friendly Economic Policy and Financing, CPF. Let's appreciate her as she comes.
So esteemed Rwandan partners, development partners, GIZ colleagues, thank you for the opportunity to close our exciting discussion with a few thoughts. Today feels very much like Quinegura, a small gathering hosted by the bride's family, a quiet moment of reflection where family and elders come together to talk through what went well and how to support the new couple moving forward. It is a space of honest feedback, encouragement, and wisdom. So what went well? We all agreed today, and we saw that how Rwanda moved decisively to adopt in a record time its green taxonomy, Rwanda Green Taxonomy Implementation Roadmap, and Navigator. With all these achievements, Rwanda has gone a long way towards fusing policy innovation with cultural values. Over the past 4 years and a half, I learned that the rolling hills, green fields, silent forests, and misty mountains are sacred and central to Rwanda's identity. At the same time, they are metaphors of its resilience. Rwanda's story of resilience is a national value, seen it's in impressive economic growth, one of the fastest in Africa, ambitious institutional reform, and enthusiasm for sports. Let me today here just mention cycling, where resilience is literally tested and showcased. So how to support the next steps? There is now time to press ahead with other homegrown, locally informed, and globally credible policies and solutions, and we have agreed on this all together today. This taxonomy will encourage issuances of green bonds, blended finance, and development of the capital market, while boosting investor confidence and driving accountability. The Rwanda Green Taxonomy Implementation Roadmap will guide Rwandan institutions on this journey. The GIZ stands ready to actively engage. We have seen the rhythm of the seasons, the crops, the rain, it's changing rapidly. Whether we like it or not, climate-related risks are materializing. There should be no moment lost in moving ahead with courage and innovation. Successful climate stories like the Rwandan one should be written together. Rwanda should therefore take the lead in the region and globally. In closing, allow me to offer congratulations. As the medals are being minted and engraved for the World Championship in cycling, golden ones should also be prepared for the Rwanda Green Taxonomy Dream Team. Hortense, Herbert, Teddy, Campetta, Bernard, Olivier, Eric, Julian, Christine, Brenda, Alex, Tony, Ellie, Charlotte, Celine, Lucy, and a big group of technical experts like PS mentioned today, who devised the taxonomy's local part, and Matteo, Mikhail, Vish, Isabel, Pratik, Charlotte, who were in charge of its international part. And not to forget the GIZ team, Makayo, Angela, Venu, Daniel, Jean-Jacques, Ines, and Leonce. So quite a big group and an impressive teamwork. So what a wonderful and memorable journey this has also been for me personally. Murakose.
And we can appreciate her better. Thank you. Before we close, there's always something I always say for people who are new in Rwanda, that this is the country that is best to be born a woman, if you didn't know. Also, it's the country where if you're crossing the road, the driver will not ask you, are you a zebra? Because we respect pedestrians. But also it's a country where you are guaranteed to keep your phone or your belongings the longest. I've had my phone since 2008. And so I want to prove that it's true. There's a watch here. So I'm guaranteeing you, you'll keep it for long. If it is yours, you've been missing it. Whoever this is for, who's the owner of this? There's a lost and found watch. I can keep it for you. But please see me if you've lost your watch in that sense. So I know I'm standing in between you and your lunch, and that's a very dangerous space to be. Right, so we're going to close now, and I think for me, my work here is done. But as it gets done, I want to remind all of us one thing that I've had here. That one thing is clear. The Rwanda Green Taxonomy, in my view, is not an end in itself. I think we've heard that very strongly from the speakers, but I think it is a vehicle to direct finance where it matters the most. And I think we've had around that. And of course, it's the renewable energy, it's the sustainable agriculture, it's the resilient infrastructure, and inclusive growth. So I think it's upon all of us to now walk the talk in terms of ensuring that this tool does not end up becoming a box-ticking exercise. That's very crucial for us. So I'll end it there, and I'll say that outside there's a group photo that is going to happen. All of us will be happy to be in that photo, and then the press will also have a chance to ask any further questions. With that said, as always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Signing off. Thank you very much. You've been amazing.
kamera urimo.
Can we go for the photo outside, please? Let's go for the
of this event. She just has one question for you. Unyurire mu kibazo mufitiye mu Kinyarwanda and then icyumba and then
nk'uko rero mwakomeje kugenda mubikurikira iyi gahunda yo gutangiza ku mugaragaro Rwanda Green Taxonomy nahangaha ibikorwa byayo birangiriye niho gahunda yayo irangiriye ariko ku muyoboro wacu wa YouTube wa Kigali Today turi kumwe na Albert Asimwe akaba ari umuyobozi mukuru ushinzwe guteza imbere urwego rw'imari muri Minisiteri y'Imari n'Igenamigambi. Albert tubahaye ikaze.
Murakoze cyane.
Hanyuma rero mushobora kutunyurira muri make ibijyanye n'iyi gahunda ya Rwanda Green Taxonomy, ese ibikubiyemo ni ibiki, ese inyungu zirimo kubikorera nizihe ndetse n'umuturage muri rusange?
Murakoze cyane. Rwanda Green Taxonomy ni uburyo cyangwa wabyita umurongo ngenderwaho kugira ngo umuntu ashobore gutandukanya icyo wakwita activity cyangwa investment cyangwa business cyangwa umushinga kugira ngo uvuge uyu mushinga urimo guteza imbere ibidukikije cyangwa urimo kwangiza ibidukikije. So icyo taxonomy ifite nuko ifite imibare n'ibindi bigufasha kureba koko umushinga urimo gukora utangiza ibidukikije. Icyo bifasha rero yiba uwo mushinga wawe utangiza ibidukikije, yiba ufite ibyo wongera ku bidukikije byiza, nuko uwo mushinga mu by'ukuri icyo duteze kubikorera nuko abikorera ba nyiri iyo mishinga cyangwa aho ni ku ruhande rumwe, ariko n'amabanki cyangwa assurance cyangwa ibigo by'imari biciriritse nuko ubu bikwiriye gukoresha uyu murongo wo twerekanye uyu munsi, wo twashyize ahagaragara uyu munsi, kugira ngo bishobore gushyiraho serivisi z'imari cyangwa produit z'imari zijyanye n'ibidukikije, ariko biciriritse, bifite interest ziciriritse, kugira ngo n'abantu barimwo kujya muri iyo mishinga iciriritse bashobore kumva ko bafite incentives cyangwa ibibashishikariza kugira ngo bajye muri iyo mishinga iciriritse.
hanyuma ubwo ku bato bo barungukira he?
Abato
turavugamo inda nk'abahinzi, ni ukuvuga twari tuvuze kubikorera, ariko se abo hasi bo barungukirayo?
Murakoze. Abato rero ntabwo ari bato, ariko abantu bari mu buhinzi, abantu bari mu bworozi cyangwa mu yindi mishinga iciriritse, icyo turimo kubona ni uko hari amafaranga menshi arimo kujya mu mabanki, mu bigo by'imari biciriritse, kugira ngo aya mafaranga ashobore gushorwa muri izo sectors, ari ubuhinzi, ari ubworozi n'izindi sectors zirimo kuberamo ibikorwa byinshi bishobora kuba byakwangiza ibidukikije, kugira ngo ibigo by'imari bishobore kuyatanga ku bantu bari muri iyi mishinga, ariko bitange n'ayo mafaranga mu buryo bwiza, mu buryo bufite interest iciriritse, kugira ngo dushobore gufatanyiriza hamwe gukomeza kubungabunga ibidukikije byacu. Murakoze.
Mumaze kubyumvira rero ibijyanye n'iyi gahunda ya Rwanda Green Taxonomy. Ni gahunda nziza cyane, ni gahunda izaniye amafaranga abikorera, ariko nanone ikabizaniye amafaranga abari mu nganda zitandukanye. Ubwo ndavuga ngo ni abahinzi, ni aborozi, ni n'abandi bafite imishinga itandukanye ifite aho ihuriye no kubungabunga ibidukikije, imishinga igamije kutangiza ibidukikije. Ni ukuvuga ngo ni amafaranga ahari, ari mu mabanki, ari muri za koperative, mu bigo by'imari biciriritse, ariko noneho ubu ni uburyo bwo kugira ngo barebe se aya mafaranga arabyazwa umusaruro ute. Rero ibi biganiro byaberaga hano mu karere ka Nyarugenge, ni mu mujyi wa Kigali, niho hatangirijwe ku mugaragaro gushyira mu bikorwa Rwanda Green Taxonomy, umushinga ubumbira hamwe ibikorwa bibungabunga ibidukikije. Ibi biganiro rero byitabiriwe n'inzego za leta, harimo abikorera, akazamo n'abafatanyabikorwa muri gahunda za leta zigamije guteza imbere ibidukikije. Ariko nanone uyu mushinga wamuritswe ku mugaragaro, wemejwe ku mugaragaro mu nama y'abaminisitiri tariki 17 Mata 2025. Umushinga rero ugambiriye cyangwa se ubumbira hamwe ibikorwa bibungabunga kandi bitangiza ibidukikije, ariwo mu ndimi z'amahanga bavuga bati ni Rwanda Green Taxonomy. Nuko rero ibiganiro birangiye, ngira ngo haba abari mu nzego zitandukanye, yaba inzego z'ubuhinzi n'ubworozi, haba mu mabanki, ibigo biciriritse. Uyu ni umwanya wo kugira ngo babyaze amahirwe aya mafaranga baje iyi mishinga nk'ingi itandukanye, ibigambiriye kugira ngo abashomera badafite akazi babone icyo gukora. Icyo usabwa ni ukuba nyine ufite uwo mushinga, ni ukuzana uwo mushinga, ukagaragaza uwo mushinga mu by'ukuri ufite ibikorwa bitangiza ibidukikije, ugaragaza gahunda neza zerekana ko zitazangiza ibidukikije. Ushobora gusanga biri no mu bwubatsi, mu kubaka ibiraro, mu kubaka imihanda, nk'uko byagarutsweho, byagiye bigarukaho muri ibi biganiro nk'uko mwagiye mubikurikira. Reka mbashimiye rero, mwakoze cyane. Nitwa Umukazana Germaine, hanyuma reka mbararikiye gukomeza kunegerwa na gahunda zitandukanye Kigali Today iri bugende ibagezaho.
the English side, so the green taxonomy is going to allow us to do two main things. From a resource mobilization point of view, it now sends a clear message to the world, to the investors, that we have a clear definition of what we mean by green. Kandi, this is also aligned with international standards, so it builds that confidence in an investor who's interested in investing in green projects. The second objective, or the second, I would say, advantage of having the green taxonomy is from the project developers side. We've had a challenge in that when we are, so I'm speaking now in terms of the Rwanda Green Fund. When we raise funding and we issue calls for applications and we look out for projects to invest in, it's been a challenge because the projects we often times receive and don't necessarily or are not designed with that really strong element of green. So now that we have this classification and this definition and this standardization, it means that the project developers, be it public or private sector, can now have a sort of a guideline and the definition of the different technologies. Therefore, for the fund, it helps us to disperse funding faster because we're getting a good pipeline. Thank you.
How is it going to help Rwanda to achieve its vision 2050 of becoming green and also reducing the gases? Yes.
Okay. No, thank you. So as you know, Rwanda has made a very bold and an ambitious decision to develop in a climate-compatible manner. So this is translated in our Vision 2050. We want to be a carbon-neutral economy by 2050. We have very clear strategies, whether it's the green growth strategy, whether it's within our NST2. And I think the key message here is not just focusing on the green, but it's more of how do we develop? So looking at our national priorities, looking at the economic development, how do we ensure that this is developed in a, but also with that conscious of environmental sustainability. Now, it's one thing to have strategies. So we have strategies, we have very clear policies. We have, the Rwanda Green Fund, we have investment vehicles, but this is even going a step further. It's a tool, which really helps us to define, because as much as you have the policies and the strategies, at the end of the day, we can only achieve this if we have projects that are designed with this objective of making sure that we achieve our goals. So the green taxonomy really builds on all these strategies and these policies and acts as that tool that helps both the public sector and the private sector. I also want to emphasize the financial institutions because for the longest time, and this is just worldwide, the biggest challenge that financial institutions, let's say commercial banks, face when it comes to investing in green projects is that there's that risk, the risk profile of a green project, because these green projects come with innovation and new technologies, and usually commercial banks obviously or any financial institution expects a return on investment. So whenever there's a new technology, that comes with a risk. So when they're perceived as risk, or even when the risk is actually there, then we don't see a lot of funding or a lot of the financial sector deploying funding to green projects. So now again, this taxonomy will also help the financial sector it serves as a framework which can also help the financial sector to assess environmental risks better. And so we hope that we will also start seeing more and more deployment of funding from the financial sector going to the green
Tell us
sector.
how this will help SMEs, as well as what does this mean to a normal citizen?
Okay, so SMEs, I talked about it. It's more from a project developer, because so the Rwanda Green Fund mobilizes funding. You have the banks that also, let's say, eventually they will set targets. Looking at their portfolio, they will set targets. We hope that they will. Targets or that are like ESG, basically targets that can make sure that, so from an SME perspective, the taxonomy would help them in a sense that they can develop. Now they have tools and further definitions that help them to design projects that are green. So currently, the biggest challenge is
how do we disseminate information to these SMEs? So EU Fit a tool, now that we have this tool that goes into each sector, literally agriculture, construction, energy, this is already something that any SME can begin with, can start with and say, okay, if I want to get funding from the Green Fund, or if I want to go and access a loan from BRD, I need to make sure that the project I take to them is actually aligned with this taxonomy. So it basically, in a nutshell, it will help them to access financing, to access green financing faster and better. And I think just to close, it also helps us to address greenwashing, you know, because there's a lot of, oftentimes you can have SMEs or even, you know, or even investors who claim they're investing in green. More greenwashing, you know, eventually we don't really see the carbon emissions being reduced. So so this green taxonomy also really helps us to make sure that we are not greenwashing, and we ensure that we are addressing the sustainability, but also achieving our NDC goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Teddy Mugabo, Rwanda Green Fund CEO. Thank you.
Let's go. Tubwire muri rusange iyi Rwanda Green Taxonomy ubundi igamije iki muri rusange?
Murakoze cyane. Rwanda Green Taxonomy mu buryo bworoshye ni umurongo cyangwa itanga umurongo n'ibipimo mpuzamahanga bigenderwaho kugira ngo ushobore kwerekana cyangwa kuvuga ko umushinga urimo gukora cyangwa ishoramari urimo gukora ririmo kubungabunga ibidukikije. So kugeza ubu nta buryo bwemewe twari dufite mpuzamahanga, ariko ubu u Rwanda rubaye urwa kabiri muri Afurika kugira ubu buryo bwemewe. Nkuko nabivuze kare, ubundi South Africa niyo yari ifite taxonomy, ariko nk'ukuntu mwabyumvise cabinet yemeje taxonomy. So uyu munsi icyo twakoze ni ukugira ngo nk'abantu bazashyira mu bikorwa iyi taxonomy cyangwa ubu buryo imibare izakoreshwa mu bantu, mu mishinga, mu bikorera, mu mabanki, muri ubwishingizi, bazakora izi serivisi zidufasha mu kubungabunga ibidukikije, babe bafite uburyo bwemewe. So icyo twakoze uyu munsi ni ukugira ngo nk'abafatanyabikorwa duhure, tubiganire, babyumve, ariko tubereke na tool iyo turimo gukoresha kugira ngo n'abatabyumva neza bashobore kubyumva. So uyu munsi nibyo twaje gusobanura hano kugira ngo nishyirwa mu bikorwa by'iyi taxonomy bizorohe cyane. So nibyo byatuhurije hano uyu munsi, ariko ibikorwa ntago bigarukira, ntago birangira uyu munsi, ahubwo biratangiye. Icyo tugiye gukora ni ukwegera inzego zose z'abikorera, za leta, kugira ngo tubigishe bayumve kurutaho cyangwa kurushaho, kugira ngo iyi taxonomy izafashe igihugu cyacu u Rwanda kugira ngo dushobore kubungabunga ibidukikije nk'uko gahunda ya leta y'igihe kirekire ibidusaba. Murakoze.
Muri iyi taxonomy mwibanze ku buhinzi, urwego rw'ingufu, ubwubatsi ndetse n'ubwikorezi, kubera icyo arizo mwashingiyeho mushyira muri gahunda?
Mu by'ukuri cyane cyane turimo gutangira aka kazi, twarebye cyangwa twatangiye tureba imishinga cyangwa inzego zitandukanye zirimo ibikorwa by'iterambere birimo kwihuta kandi birimo gushorwamo amafaranga menshi. So niyo mpamvu cyane cyane twatangiranye urwego rw'ubwubatsi, transport, ubuhinzi, kuko izo nizo zimwe mu nzego zirimo kujyamo amafaranga menshi, ariko tutarebye neza izo nzego zakwangiza ibidukikije. So niyo mpamvu twavuze tuti reka dutangirane n'izo nzego, turebe ko ibyo bipimo babyumva, batangire no kubishyira mu bikorwa nk'uko bikwiye. Ariko ikindi cyo dushaka no kureba ni uko nk'uko mubizi hari abashoramari benshi, hari imishinga myinshi ishaka gushyira amafaranga mu bikorwa birengera cyangwa birebere ibidukikije. Ni ukugira ngo izo nzego zishobore no kubona n'ayo mafaranga aciriritse abungabunga ibidukikije. So nibyo muri make.
Abari mu gisate cy'ubuhinzi ndetse n'indi mishinga igiye itandukanye bazungukira hehe cyangwa se bazafashwa gute binyuze muri no green taxonomy?
Murakoze cyane. Nk'uko nabivuze again, cyangwa mbisubiremo, ni umurongo ngenderwaho, ni ibishingirwaho kugira ngo wemeze ko uyu mushinga urimo kubungabunga ibidukikije. So kugira ngo rero cyane cyane abantu bari mu buhinzi, turimo kubona amafaranga menshi, cyane cyane turabona banki zatangiye kuyoboka gushyira amafaranga menshi mu buhinzi. Ibigo by'imari biciriritse nabyo birimo gushyira amafaranga menshi mu buhinzi. So icyo turimo gukora ni ukugira ngo ibyo bigo by'imari byose bitangire bidufashe, birebe iyo mishinga, birebe neza bikurikije imirongo twatanze uyu munsi, bitangire no kubaha izo nguzanyo ziciriritse, zize neza ko zirengera ibidukikije. So nibyo turimo kureba, kuko nk'uko mubizi hari ibikorwa byinshi biri muri izo nzego cyangwa biri muri urwo rwego rw'ubuhinzi. So nicyo dushaka kureba kugira ngo bikorwe neza, ari nta kintu cyangirika. Nk'urugero natanze kare, yiba umuhinzi yashoboye kugura inyongeramusaruro nziza, ese uwo muhinzi yigishijwe cyangwa azi uburyo bwiza bwo gukoresha iyo nyongeramusaruro kugira ngo ayishyiremo neza, imvura ibaye iguye ntishobore kumanura iyo nyongeramusaruro mu buryo yamanuka ikajya mu mazi. Ese yahinze neza kugira ngo iyo nyongeramusaruro igume aho yayishyize, ntimanuka ikajya mu mazi ikica amafi, ikica n'ibindi n'utundi dukoko cyangwa utuntu dufite ubugingo turi mu mazi. So nibyo tureba kugira ngo iyo mirongo ibe izwi neza kandi ikorwe neza, bahinge neza, n'ababaha amafaranga babaha amafaranga meza aciriritse kuko arahari.
One question in English, please. Maybe about, yes, the last one, just about the choice of these sectors. You chose energy, agriculture, transport. Why these four sectors?
So we chose these sectors because you all know that these are the sectors that are driving our economy. Agriculture, industries, we are talking about manufacturing, we are talking about construction, we are talking about energy. These are some of the sectors that are really pushing our economy. So if we do not do the right sustainable investments, we are likely to see these very good activities harming our environment or not decarbonizing our environment. Instead, you're really emitting a lot of emissions in them, and that's a danger. As a country, we have national guidance, we have our national strategies, let it be Vision 2050, NST2, but also other strategies that the government has put in place to ensure that our environment is protected. So if we do not do the right things, if we do not put and implement frameworks like the taxonomy that gives you the right classification of what is green and not green, we might not only harm our environment, but also not able to attract the capital, the green capital that we need in these sectors. So that's why we are launching the taxonomy, to ensure that we are not harming our environment, but we are also attracting the green and sustainable capital into the country, and then channeling it into the key sectors of the economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.